February 19th, Thursday in 2026, and we are about to do our 53rd episode of, do we have a title? I'm so used to saying Who Judges the Judges from my previous broadcast. The name of this broadcast is pertains to being fruitful, our community to be fruitful and multiply. The title of this is real fruit produced in the corporate world? And a lot of us are producing fruit by being employed by a corporation. We're producing some kind of fruit, I guess. I thought I would start the prayer. The prayer is kind of lengthy today, but it sort of sets the stage for what I hope we can talk about. I spent a lot of time on the prayer. Thanks to everybody for making this podcast possible. Our dear Heavenly Father, here we are again, not quite sure what your will is for us as we try to obey your command to be fruitful, whether it's to spread the gospel of Lord Jesus or to help divide the wheat from the tares, which of course so often resemble each other, at least in superficial ways. Many of the wheat and the tares work side by side on ostensibly identical goals, but there are vast differences which those of us without discernment can't or refuse to see. Too many of us fall into self-will. We continue to fall short of your plan for us. We continue to fail to carry out your plan for the exercise of our fruitfulness as collaborators with you in promoting your will, not ours. Too many of us believe that being fruitful is for our greater glory, not yours. Help us see the error of our ways. We see a lot of our friends' fruitfulness perverted in ways similar to what that abomination of a man Nimrod did with the building of the Tower of Babel. You couldn't have been more clear, Lord, Heavenly Father, that this displeased you enormously. In a similar way, the proud tares of today boast of their grand plans and gestures, their wealth, their worldly goods, along with lies about their intentions. Some of us have been aiding and abetting in such perversions of the nature you created, such as by weather weaponization, space exploration, and even elaborate hoaxes about their great feats of mimicry, such as the corporate gangsters' ludicrous lunar expedition. So many lies, Lord, so much wasted effort, wasted resource. Then there was CERN, another defiant, apparently destructive effort of sinful man with no discernible purpose other than to accomplish what only you, Heavenly Father, can accomplish merely by speaking such things into being, and only for righteous purposes. For the benefit of anybody who might listen to this, I have a link to that. There was apparently an unfortunate event that happened a few years ago, and the satanic ones are not talking about CERN very much anymore. Maybe the most arrogant, though, of man's efforts to mimic your glory, Heavenly Father, has been not just the mimicry of your law, but our tolerance of Satan's endless experiments in his efforts to reproduce the spark of life that only you can breathe into it. The corporate crime syndicates funding such unrighteous efforts and their spin-off and satellite operations are not surprising, and lead many who refuse to hear you into addictive idolatries to mammon in the form of the Federal Reserve note, debt instruments that they think they can't live without, when really it is only you, Lord, and your blessed creations of nature that we need, and which sustain us in whatever true fruitfulness that you have blessed us with. May you have mercy on those of us who are doing our level best to obey your commands, to be truly fruitful, to your greater glory, not to ours, and not to the glory, certainly, of the adversary. In Jesus' name we pray that you bless our efforts this evening. Amen. Okay. Y'all still there? Everybody still there?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Let's go. Go
we
ahead.
can hear you better if you talk in the phone, in the mic.
Okay. I wanted to get into, we did some unfruitfulness last time. But I wanted to get into specifics. And I was just talking to Ron the other day about some of those specifics, and I think that the areas we ought to get into are the basics, which are food, water, clothing. And clothing isn't too difficult. Shelter and self-defense. If we can't have justice, and how can we have it from a profit-driven entity, then how can we have peace or fruit from our labors or anything else, even the very basics? So if we look just at the basics, and keep in mind, all of those basics are intimately associated with the land God gave us. If we don't have the basics, what difference does it make if we also don't have the frills, such as electricity, internet, transportation, entertainment? Keep in mind that civilizations prospered for long periods of time without those frills. Not only is very little, if any, real fruit produced in the corporate world, it removes some of the resources and the talent that should be directed towards satisfying real needs. So, okay, Ron and I had talked the other day about sources of electricity that can come from plant life. But of course, I looked at that video you sent, Ron, and about how you can connect a plant to an LED light. And yeah, that's good. I would like to see us have truly sustainable ways that we can feed ourselves and have water that's not going to kill us. A lot of people I talk to today, they have a lot of frills, but they don't have food and water that isn't killing them. And when they don't have those things, then they start resorting to the substitutes that the satanic system offers, like pharmaceuticals, like surgeries, and on it goes. If we don't have, and we don't, if we don't have the freedom to use our own land that God gave us without the adversary trying to steal it from us through various means, including so-called taxation, to which he's not entitled, then we're not going to be able to achieve the basics, the food, the water, the shelter, And we won't have to worry about self-defense because we won't have anything, as some of them have predicted. We don't have those things, it won't matter about the frills. So I'm just looking at those areas, particularly. I mean, you can accomplish a lot of industry and the consequent fruit through growing food. Just get down to the basics. Grow food. Learn how to grow food. You're going to have to have access to land, so you're going to be entitled to the fruits of your labor. Not telling people to go, indulge in slave labor. I suppose if you have to do it to live, then that's what you do. But I'm hoping we're not to that point. And then it looks to me like the best source of water that we can possibly have is systematically being taken from us too, not just by the removal of the stealing of our land from which we could drill for water, but all the threats that are made and the rules and regulations about you have to have, the polluted water that the corporation produces, or there's a penalty for it in some way. If you don't have land, it's going to be real difficult to have shelter of any kind. So anyway, when you look at land, there's a lot of employment that goes with that, including, the managing of that land, the making of it into something productive, drilling for water, organizing it for, like a permaculture for the truly sustainable production of food for the household. So anyway, does anybody have any comments? I'm kind of played out for a minute. Got a few Bible verses. James 3:18. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Ron. I think Ron was trying to say something, but his mic is muted, and I don't know how to unmute it here. I'm clicking unmute, but nothing happens. Can you hear us, Ron? His screen's frozen now.
We can't hear Ron now. What happened,
Ron? He just said he lost his microphone, but now I think I can't even see his video.
I can see his image, but it's a still image. I don't think he's moving.
That's what I got.
Oh, now it's gone.
He just left.
I wonder if we're going to have to repeatedly refresh.
I don't know.
Well, okay. I know that
it still shows him here in the meeting, but I don't see his picture. So what you're talking about, water? I was thinking about my place in Ohio. It's a really good well I have there. It's 160 feet deep. It's never gone dry. I have my own water tree. They tried to get me to connect to the city water, but
I
haven't done that. No, I haven't done that. I was able to keep the well connection. It's kind of a continuous fight to do that, though.
Hey, Catherine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Ron.
Okay, I'm having some little intermittent stuff going on here, and I'm kind of debugging it as we go along. And I've done some things that seem to be working, but I might bump out of here every once in a while and have to come back in. When
Okay.
you were talking about crops and growing your own food, there was something I stumbled onto here a couple days ago, and I don't know, you knew, and I may have talked about this, but there's a whole group of non-commercial crops, things like Jerusalem artichokes and things that grow with almost
Mhm.
no intervention from us. You know, that's the kind of things you need to look into. In other words, the things that you don't need to buy all the fertilizers and all the, do all the, you're not depending on the commercial end of things to grow them. I'll tell you what, I was actually really surprised by this. But if you look at a state like Georgia, they're being buried under kudzu. They've had that problem for decades, and that's an edible plant. So here they are, they're being overwhelmed with an edible plant, and very few people know that there's like an edible portion of that plant. So they've got food for forever, but they've turned it into a problem. You think about that's something that's actually cultivatable or something that could, they could be harvesting and using, and the thing
Mhm.
is, it's just nobody researches anything. I think that's the underlying problem. People need to start digging into more of these things. Um, but that's another thing. Like your Jerusalem artichokes, those things you can actually the preservation method for a Jerusalem artichoke is just leaving it in the ground. It could be the middle of
Like
January,
with,
and you can.
I think a lot of root vegetables are like that, like potatoes. You
I
can
never knew
preserve
that
it.
about potatoes, but like I said, I just figured that out, found that out about like I said, the Jerusalem artichokes. But
Uh-huh.
anything that doesn't make you depend commercial things or infrastructure, that set yourself up that way. That's the thing. That's the direction I think we all need to be looking at.
I don't think there's any
Yeah,
crop that depends
but
on
that's that
commercial
was my little.
fertilizer. We've
A
just
lot of my
Oh
become
yeah, I mean,
conditioned to that. We've allowed ourselves to assume that
mm-hmm.
that's what's needed. Let's jump back
so
into that. But
I
Frank was
think the
telling
only.
about his his experience with I guess city of Cleveland and his his well. He's got a good well, and I guess they're not making a big stink um, over getting on city water. Is that right,
well,
Frank?
no, they periodically they do, but I'm able to sidestep it. Uh, so I've kept the well for the entire time since 1993, and
Hmm.
it's good water. I got a treatment system on there that takes out some of the mineral, some of the extra iron that's in there and so on. But it's a good well. I get it tested periodically. I drink the water. Feel good when I drink it, and it's endless supply. In fact, my neighbor had no water for almost a year, and I just ran a hose over to his
Oh
property and we
wow.
hooked up
Go figure.
his house. No big deal. They had for a family of four, they had water, and it was easy. It's so simple, comes right out of the ground. But it's now I don't live there full time. I live in Texas most of the time, but I wish I had the Cleveland water here, and I wish I had the Texas food there because we got prickly pear and we got rosemary. We got everything grows like weeds here. The prickly pear cactus is you don't have to eat the fruit to have an edible part of the plant. The whole plant's edible. Very tasty.
Where are you in
So
Texas, Frank?
Austin area.
Just oh, you're not okay. I lived in Oklahoma for a while. I mean, I used to wander into Texas now and then. I just wonder where you're having that kind of plant growth.
Well, we got palm trees. We got so many things grow here. They're edible. On my back deck, I can grow. I put broccoli seeds in dirt, and they grow like weeds. They grow like crazy, and it's you can leave them as small plants, or you can let them grow bigger. It's it just all you need is water, water
Well,
and dirt.
I mean, you're over an aquifer of some kind there, aren't you? In
Yeah, so there's
Texas
all
Hill
kinds of.
Country.
Yeah, you got it right. It's a big aquifer. The Edwards, I think, I can't remember the name of the aquifer, but it's a big aquifer. There is are laws on the books in Texas that were originally for the ranchers, that make it legal to drill for water wherever you are. If you're a residential area, it doesn't matter, and you can drill with explosives, because you have to drill with explosives here because of the rock. And so you use these small explosive charges and detonate them, and they turn the rock into gravel, and you scoop that out, and it takes a long time to make a hole that way, but you can. And because you
How
could
deep
drill
would you
right into
have
the
to
rock.
go?
Oh, here, not as deep as in Ohio, but maybe 60 feet.
Oh, that's pretty shallow. That's my mother and father's well, I think, is about 60 feet, and that's good when you hit water that shallow. My Which is funny. My sister, who is 3 miles from them, had to drill 800 feet to hit water.
Oh,
And then there's like a mile between them. I thought that was crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, they literally had to go down 800 feet to get water, and they're only a mile away. I thought, what's going on there? It's like had to drill halfway to China to hit water. When
Well, a
and
little
like I
bit.
said, mom and dad hardly had to go any depth at all. 60 feet is nothing. I mean,
My son's got
you
12 and a
you
half
don't see that
acres.
much.
Uh, he's about he's got 12 and a half acres. He's about an hour from here, south and east. He's got a lot more rainfall just in that 1 hour distance from where I am.
Hmm.
So
And
what do you do
they've
now
got.
for water, Frank?
Oh, I don't know. I get water from him because he's got water, and we just truck it from his place. And so water's free if I drive an hour.
Uh,
So
yeah.
yeah, but Ohio,
Have
and
you
when I'm in
gotten
Ohio,
any
it's no
estimates
problem.
from a drilling company?
Oh, well, I got the city tells me I can't drill, even though those laws are on the books that says I can. But I'll have to do it somehow. Drill quietly with explosives. I don't know how that would work.
Hmm.
Oh, we just lost Ron again, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's going to be sporadic throughout the time we're on. Um,
So you're right,
so
though. I mean, if you got water and food, or if you got water and land, you got pretty much
you,
the basics.
yeah. So so have you gotten any estimates from a drilling company there? Are
Oh,
you
they're astronomical here. It's
really?
astronomical. It's crazy
Uh huh.
because you're drilling through rock for the first 25 feet or so,
Uh huh.
and then sometimes you just hit more rock,
Well, it'd be like
so
oil
they
drilling.
don't know what you're gonna
They probably
hit.
have to use bentonite. And, that would make it expensive.
Well, they use for the explosive. They use these gelignite blasting caps. It's the same thing you'd use for other types of exploration, mineral exploration, I guess. And they drill an 8-inch wide hole for the water here. I don't know. It's 6 inches in Ohio, for a typical well, but here they drill an 8-inch hole, which
Well,
is
then
that's a
aren't
lot
you
more work.
concerned about pumping it out and using an electric pump? And what if the electric goes out?
Yeah, I have electric there, but me and a friend of mine in Austin's a green builder, so we've been setting up. We just ordered some batteries. We're setting it up at his house, so we have a battery backup. He's got big solar arrays on his outbuildings, so he's got enough for his own use but he's got some leftover power too. Depends on the sunshine during the day. Uh, but we were talking about, I want to set that up at my place here and the same battery backup, and I won't have to worry about power going up.
Mm.
It's not expensive. I mean, they charge so much money if you call somebody and say, I want to put up a solar array with a battery backup, it's tens of thousands of dollars. But the solar array, if I just buy it in myself and put it on the roof, or have somebody, have one of my neighbors put on the roof, it's not that expensive. I can do it myself for about with the battery backup. I can do for about 3,000.
We should have
Wow.
Andre on. He had a real
It's a lot
fiasco with
less.
getting solar in New York. So I don't know. I don't trust it myself, but
Well,
I'm trying to get a well drilled here in
yeah.
Uruguay, and because my source of water has decided they're going to leave and going back to the states. Um, but and I had them come out and look, but they haven't given me a budget for it yet. They say it's going to be contaminated if I don't drill as deep as I don't know, probably 20 meters, something like that. So that'd
Mm,
be like 60 feet,
yeah,
um,
a little
20,
more.
25 meters, something like that. And uh, and then I don't trust any form of electricity. I want to hand pump it. And I used to, I had a well, I still have, but it's an hour drive away, like your situation. Um, and I was hand pumping it. I have some hand pumps, and I would be able to that was enough for me. I would hand pump about 20 or 30 5 liter jugs full of well water, and it would take me an hour and a half or so to do that. But I'm told now that that was only because at the farm the well wasn't as deep, and so I didn't have to exert as much effort to pump by hand. And if I had a deeper well here in the village, that I would be pumping and pumping and pumping for hours and hours and hours just to get a very little bit. So but again, I don't trust an electric pump. They're saying, "Oh, but you should." You know, the electric company has promised that they won't ever give you an outage for more than 3 days, and then we'll put a tank on the roof and a reserve tank, and it's against their corporate code for them to keep you away from electricity longer than 3 days. So that's not a problem. I think it might be a
What
problem. I don't
what's a
want to
corporate
trust
code?
the electric. I don't trust anything about that electric monopoly.
Well, yeah, they don't need to. I mean, who's holding them accountable if they fail?
Nobody, nobody. They're buddies. They're buddies in the
Hmm.
so-called corporate government. That's the only beings that would do that.
I know
So
a lot of folks around here are doing rainwater collection more and more. I can go to my local general store and buy the rainwater collection units, and we want to use that here for watering our plants at least, because the
when you say
water here.
rainwater collection units, what does that mean?
Oh, we just collect the water from the gutter and put it in a big container, and once in a while we treat it with
What's
hydrogen
your source
peroxide.
of the water then? You
Rain?
a local store?
No, rainfall. Yeah, rainfall
Oh,
from, yeah, clouds.
oh, rainwater. Yeah. That
We use for
that
water
used
and
to be a
plants.
better form of water than well water, but if you and if you have a way of this is according to Dr. Hulda Clark's book, The Cure for All Diseases, and she talks extensively about water and what's healthy and what isn't. And she says that it used to be that rainwater was the healthiest, but then there was, and she was writing in the 90s. Then there was acid rain, and and she says so. What you can do is you can have a way you divert the first 20 minutes or so of rainfall somewhere else, and then you collect from what's left. And I tried that at the farm, and we've been having so many droughts, it's just not feasible.
Mm.
And plus, it's the distance. Um, so, uh, but I'm also concerned that more and more rainfall, with the weather weaponization we're dealing with, rainfall isn't all that healthy anymore. You're better off with well water, and it used to be just the opposite.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I'd love to have a well here in Texas.
mhm.
That's kind of my dream. But none of my neighbors have wells. I think it'd be easier if I could find somebody here local with a well. But too close to the city. And our district where I'm at, we just disannexed from the city of Austin because the whole neighborhood voted for it is why, but the reason is because we weren't getting services and we were paying too high taxes, so we said, well, let's get some good lawyers, and we disannexed ourselves from the city. So now we're for the services. Now we're part of the county, but it's quite a bit better. Taxes have gone down 25%, and the services have gone way up. Wait, I got to bring Ron back in.
So yeah, uh, it's it's a problem. It really is. I would just want to have a solution that was as low tech or no tech as possible. And
Well, I hear you about the well, but that little Swiss pump that I bought for the Ohio well, um, the pump's reliable. Like you say, you're depending though on somebody else for the electricity to run it. Unless you put in your own electrical, with solar or some other means, you're dependent on somebody to keep your grid connected and your power on.
I don't know. I've experimented with wind and haven't done much with solar. Although I have a unit that can you can put on the roof to heat your water, and apparently that that works pretty well. It might save on your electric bill, but it's not going to be useful for powering a pump for actually getting the water to begin with.
Well, the hot water heaters have an advantage. The solar hot water heaters that I know about, if it's the kind I'm thinking of, it's just pipes
Uh
painted
huh.
black, behind some kind of glass or plastic or something, and those work great. They do heat water, and
Yeah, I have some friends that are very happy with their. It's called an H2 Sol, a
mhm.
H2 Sun, um, solar hot water heater. It seems like I don't know. I guess you still have the panels to deal with, and they can go bad, right?
Well, if
Hey,
it's the kind
Catherine,
I'm
can
thinking,
you hear me?
it's yeah, we got you back.
Can you hear me,
Yeah.
Catherine?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I
So
like those. 'Cause they're simple. They do need a pump to pump the water
Okay.
through
Hey,
them.
I
But
just, you know, it's funny. Right before I got on here, I found a video. If, if you want,
you
um,
found a video.
you guys still have me on audio? Can you hear me?
Yes.
yeah, can you post the link to the video in the chat?
Okay,
Yeah.
there. I saw a video on a what's called a compound parabola. Uh, yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go ahead and I'll find the video, and
Okay.
I'll go ahead and put a link in here for you.
All right.
But
And then
it's a compound parabola water heater. I'll tell you what. I'll look it up real quick here, and I'll post it.
okay. But I mean, you can actually live without heated water. So we're getting into the frill area. Um, but I'd sure like to have, you know, uh, good water that I don't have to depend on electricity for. So I don't know. I'm still waiting to hear from the people who are going to give me an estimate, and I think I'm going to find somebody else. I think I heard them comment that, you know, if that's all the service I wanted, then maybe it wouldn't be worth the trouble to bring the machinery out. They wanted to sell me the tanks on the roof, and they wanted to sell me the electric pump, and you know, when I started talking about, you know, the hand pump, and I already had one, and or they did say that there were older ones that were heftier, that you could actually pump from deep wells without killing yourself to do it. So we'll see, we'll see. So you know, in Bible times, it didn't seem like this was, and they were living in the desert. Um, it seemed like the well was a community gathering place, and so they whatever resources they had to be putting into that well. Um, and I don't know what they did then. What they did, they were digging the wells, is what they did. And they, are you familiar with that, Frank?
They're digging the wells for what? Oh, hang on, I'm bringing Ron back in.
They were, you know, remember in the Bible about the woman at the well, and it seemed like that was just an example of. Thanks, Ron. That was an example of how the well was a community gathering place. And I've seen some other videos about how did people eat and drink? What were they doing in Bible times? How did they actually live? What were things like? And it sounds like the community well was a gathering place, and so almost a social gathering place. We have something like that here, only it's a dumpster. So, um, anyway, I would think that they would put the whole community would have put every bit of effort they could into that well that was going to be servicing everybody. And you would think in the desert, how deep would they have had to go? Or maybe you couldn't just dig a well any old place, could you? You'd had you'd have to find an oasis probably, right? I don't know what
Yeah,
the
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how they. What's that called?
Water table?
There's a name. No, there. Yeah, but there's a name to the art form. Finding a water table, and folks use hydrometers and so on.
Oh yeah.
But I don't remember the name of it.
A
But
divining with a divining rod or something.
well, I'm not sure. There's different ways, but that's there's a name
It's
for the
called
science of
witching.
it. Say again? It's called what? Oh, you're still glitching. I thought,
What's
yeah.
it called, Ron?
Witching.
He said he was.
It's
He said
witching,
he's
where
coming
you
in
have the
and out.
two rods,
Witching.
and the rods will actually converge on where the water is.
Does it work?
Witching. That's the name of the. That's the old discipline there. You
Okay.
know what? If you were to conduct a poll, I'd say 95% of people you ask would say it works. It's kind of it's I don't know how strange it is, but it's weird. It's one of those things you look at, you wouldn't think it would work, but it does. And all it is, it's two rods you hold in your hand and you walk with them, and when you get close to water, the rods start converging in toward one another. Closer you get to the water, and there are people. I know you could find people that swear by it. So
I've
it's
heard of
something you
that.
might want to research a little bit more. But yeah, but that's the actual name of the process is witching.
But they also had called it a divining rod or something, hadn't they?
There's that. hmm
And you had to,
I've heard
and
of that too. But there was
you had to have special abilities to be able to feel how the rod would move in your hand to be able to take advantage of it, right?
yeah yeah, there's an element of that, and I think that's something that we've all lost a little bit. I mean, look at all the static we deal with now. I don't know of a better way of putting it, but it's we're living in a world where you know our cognitive processes are being attacked, and basically all of our I would call our higher functions, and that's how that works. That all starts at birth. If you've follow Sabrina Wallace, or there's a that's one of the reasons that we're constantly or we were being vaccinated and whatnot, is that those little things are suppressed in us. But yeah, I'd say you have to have some kind of sensitivity to be able to engage in that.
Yeah, it's just another part of the prolonged murder plan. I mean, that's really what it is. And some parts of it are more prolonged than other parts. Um, but the last 3 or 4 years have shown us that they're using the white coated guys to really speed things along.
Well,
So yeah, that's a big that's a big thing. I wonder if people who can do those use those divining rods or witching rods, whatever. If there are people who still alive today who know how to do that, yeah, I have to find out from here. Um, I guess in some areas, almost anywhere you drill, you're going to have success, though.
we just lost Ryan again. There we go.
So, so those are skills that are absolutely essential for survival, and yet, you know, we seem to be losing them. We can't let that knowledge die. Um,
So there's a method that's used by, of all things,
Um,
by the military to find surface water, uh, and they use this because let's say if you want to know where somebody's parked a bunch of tanks overnight. So this is a trick that they use: is the in, the tanks are
If
gone,
you
but they're
want to
only
find where people park a bunch of what overnight?
tanks, or military
Oh,
vehicles overnight. This is what they do. So, and I know about this because well, you can pull up the papers by if you go to University of Notre Dame, you'll find the professor that did it. He gets all kinds of military grants for this stuff. They do just like light has polarization. Radio waves are polarized too, and they bounce the polarized radio waves off mountaintops, off the ground, and they can see where the ground was wet overnight. And
oh,
it's a technique that they use. It's called the name of the technique uses an old science called the Poincaré sphere, which is a fancy way of saying uh, they're looking at the polarization of radio waves instead of light. And they can tell you where, not just tell you where, but show an image of where there's moisture on the ground. If you've got two mountaintops and you can reflect the signal between them. And that's how they can tell where the military vehicles have been parked overnight. You can do the same thing to detect moist ground, whether it's from military vehicles being parked or from any other reason. It'll show you where the moist ground is.
okay.
Ron keeps going out and in. Um,
I don't know if
uh,
that's going to be an indicator for where you should be drilling for a well, but maybe. Yeah.
Not necessarily, not necessarily, but it tells you where the moisture is anyway.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Not a not. I mean, we've lost a lot of the old sciences, like you were saying, or we're losing them.
Right. Now, if you're near a body of water, if you're near a river, uh, of course, anymore, most rivers are just so horribly contaminated. Uh, it's really, I suppose you can. I don't believe in filtration. I don't think that's real effective. No matter what you do, the water that the contaminants you're filtering out are in the filter, and the new water is going past that. So, it's uh, I don't know. I don't know. I suppose you could distill the water.
Well, you can
Yeah.
refine the water a little bit, but your raw water has to be good in the first place. You're not going to filter out dissolved poison. That's too hard to do.
Right, right. And if you've got, a chemical industry upstream, you're not gonna be able to use that.
Yeah, water is a universal solvent. It dissolves almost everything, including the things you don't want in there. So if you've
Uh-huh.
got contaminants in the ground, y- yeah, you don't have a good source. But I mean, you're right. It's a primary ingredient for being
That's
fruitful.
funny.
How
I
do you
remember reading that chemistry book.
about water?
That water was the most common solvent. So yeah, water breaks down everything.
Right.
Yeah, just about everything dissolves in water, and that's it's good and bad. Uh,
Yeah.
we 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 just went to the during the government shutdown in September, October. We went to Rocky Mountain National Park, and we went several days in a row because we get in for free because there's nobody taking tickets at the gate. And I was just amazed by how much water I saw cascading off the rocks in the mountains. And there's
What's the quality of it?
well,
We don't
I don't
know.
know. I drank it.
Oh,
there's
really?
nothing. There's nothing above me but bear piss. So
Uh-huh.
probably okay. There's no cities. There's no cities or anything up there where it was coming from. It was coming from
Mhm.
rainfall, mountain streams, that kind of thing. And I'm sure there's some things in the rocks. There's some decaying animals and animal waste and whatnot, but nothing that bothered me. It was real good.
I think the soil does a lot to decontaminate water, and that's why well water is so good. You have enough
Yeah,
layers of earth.
I had a big diatomaceous earth filter at another house in Ohio that was it was good for taking out the silt. It doesn't take out any dissolved chemical, but if you don't like sand in your water, then this stuff the diatomaceous earth takes it out really good. The pump would pump up everything. It would pump up the silt from underground, and pump up everything, and it'd be kind of like this grayish, brownish grayish color. But you get rid of the silt and let the rest of the sediment settle out, and it's clear, very tasty, drinkable. And I have a big reserve tank too, so if my water goes out electricity goes out for a few days, I got water.
There's a lot of opportunity for people to be fruitful in that way, to help people have water, because although we're going to be told that water is a scarce resource, of course it's renewable. Now, with food, the only thing that seems to me that is an improvement in more recent times with growing of food has been with the permaculture movement, the no-till gardening. The Bible certainly doesn't talk about that. They're talking about tilling the land, don't they? And apparently that's not really the most effective use of the land. You're disrupting a lot of the biomass, the microorganisms in the topsoil when you do that. And not to mention, how labor intensive that is. There's a lot of videos online about no-till gardening, and I recommend that people try that. I think the longer you have your land, and it's got the vegetation, rotting on it, and you keep covering it up with more organic matter that will rot down, and you compost. You got to have a real sophisticated system, of course, but still, that's going to lessen your labor. I'm not anybody to talk about, growing food. I've grown some herbs and lettuce and stuff. Didn't do well with raspberries. I'm trying to get a plum tree to bear fruit, and it's leafing out, but it's not bearing fruit. And so I don't know. It's not been a top priority either. Other people, we have to be able to depend on other people's skills, because we can't really do everything. Ideally you would, but in the last few years I've, been devoted to the court and so forth. It's backbreaking work, even if you're not tilling. But anyway, anybody has any other thoughts? I mean, I think that there's a lot of industry that is going to go into um, just creating food, distributing food, um, uh, maybe selling food, bartering, with others for other things that you want or need, and water, just food and water. Shelter, it seems to me, I mean, is almost in the frill category, but um, it's still uh, something that, if depending on the climate you're in, it's not a frill. But if you locate to a place that does not get, deathly cold in the winter time, and you have shelter from the wind and the rain, um, even without heat, you're going to be okay. I've been doing this for 17 years or so in a place. It gets down in the 40s in the wintertime. And with a lot of wind and rain, I mean, that's unpleasant. You don't want to be out in that. Um, but and in the summertime, it's you know the way the houses are constructed, uh, you got an oven in the summertime. But you know, if you can do a few things with ventilation and uh, cross ventilation, and floor fans, you don't have to indulge in air conditioning. So anyway, that's but if you want some of those comforts, there are people who can do that, and but I think a lot of people, when they think about where they're going to live, they don't take into account that it's going to be a lot more expensive to live in a harsh climate, whether it's harsh on the cold end or harsh on the hot end. You know, that's definitely a factor, and that's going to make it more expensive. Um,
Well,
so
I saw an interesting cooling system. So we're talking about food. Can't always have food year round, so it's important to be able to preserve food. And
well, you can have food all year long if you live in a semi-tropical climate or
it's
subtropical,
true.
uh, which
In
I'm in.
Texas,
There's always food.
we can have food, but in some places where you can't, I remember two things. Is my grandma had a lot of a whole lot of bottles in the basement with peppers and all the stuff from the garden.
Uh
So
huh. Uh huh.
she was really good at canning, and although I mean by canning I mean the mason jars. So
Right. Right.
had rows and rows of those on shelves in the basement, and the basement kept them cool kind of naturally because it's there in the ground and it's always almost the same
Root cellar.
temperature year round.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was one way. Another way is something I saw in Milan, Michigan. It was this fella built his house into a hillside, and he
Uh,
had room. He had no electricity. No, he wasn't using AC or refrigeration, so he had a room that was a kind of a cooler. It was cold in the room, and he kept things cold in there, even during
yeah,
the
about
summer.
55 degrees, huh?
No, it was way colder than that. He had a gravity fed. It was using butane. He had a gravity fed thing, and it came up to the. It was a hole, a pipe down through the hillside, and the cooler. What did he call it? He didn't call it a cooler, but it was effectively a cooler, like a walk-in cooler, a walk-in fridge. It was about 39 degrees in there, and during the summer, and he kept that area cold there's this big panel that looked like it was just facing the sun, painted black, and you'd think it would be heating it up, but it was just the opposite. It was a way to radiate the heat into the space, into the air at nighttime. And it used this gravity feed system with butane. It used no electricity. And so I went in the room, it was cold. And
Oh, wow.
so it's using no electricity, no moving parts at all. So no pumps.
Even cold, even in the summer?
In the summer, yeah. That's what it's for. It was just for keeping food cold. So it's not, I mean, we're losing all these arts, all these things that you can do with, they're reliable systems. They don't take power. I mean, it was using solar, but it was using solar in an indirect way, like your neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Water heaters. You can also use it for cooling. I just didn't know that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There's a lot of skills.
Frank, what
My
can
dad
you use
used to-
for cooling?
Oh, this place I visited in Milan, Michigan, this guy had a house in the side of a hill, and it was a gravity feed. Butane was the coolant, and there was no moving parts. Just the gravity would compress the butane, and it would evaporate and come back up and condense again on a panel that was above ground. And at night, it's painted black, so facing the clear sky, it would cool off. And then it would condense and drop back down, and the whole thing was a combination of gravity and evaporation of the butane, and it kept the room cold in his cellar, in the house, 39 degrees all the time, and he'd use that to keep food longer. No electricity, no moving parts.
And that was even, yeah. Okay. The thing in the hillside would cool it down to 55, and then the evaporation would cool it down to the 39, I guess.
Yep, exactly. So, and he wasn't losing any butane either. He would just continuously recycle the butane.
Oh, wow.
I was just wondering.
It was not like
Frank,
a swamp cooler where you. So
I was just wondering, Frank, have you ever heard of an ammonia-based refrigeration?
No, but you could use ammonia too, because ammonia is a good anything that where it's a gas and then you compress it, it becomes a liquid like butane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they use Freon in AC units, right? But if you don't want to use Freon, or you don't want to pay the expense or the recovery of Freon, you could use butane. You can use ammonia. There's a lot of things you can use.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that in one of the Back to the Future movies, Doc, the character Doc, the one where he went back to the Old West, he was making ice cubes for his iced tea with an old ammonia-based cooler. And what's funny is you have cooling, but it's derived from burning something. There's some part of the process where you could use fire to actually. But it's crazy. They made reference to that in that movie. Mm-hmm. But they were in the Old West, and he was making ice cubes for his iced tea because he had he had the knowledge that the locals didn't have.
No, we're losing the old science. It doesn't pay. It doesn't pay to, I guess, make ice cubes that way. So everybody forgets. Yeah, so this guy's house, he had other things too that he used the same principle, because when he wanted to close these blinds, he has these big metal louvers that would close and open when the sun hit it. And so when the sun hits it in the summertime, he wants it to close when the sun hits it, and the wintertime he wants it to open. And so we had this setup where he was using butane again, but the sun would hit part of this louver, and it was a tube on the bottom, and the butane would evaporate and go onto the other side, and then that side where it evaporated from would get lighter, and it would flip the louver over, and didn't need electricity or anything. It just flipped the louver, when the sun shone on it, and that's all he needed.
So he had an analog computer, basically. It sounds like.
Very much, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's only got a 1 and a 0. It's open or it's closed, but it's still
You
analog
know,
because it's
it's funny how many analog. Mhm.
alcohol. That's another. You know how they use
I mean, there
in
are a lot
the
of mechanical systems like that.
if you open up a computer and you see those fans with the copper tubes attached to the heat sinks, well, those copper tubes are called heat pipes. And so it's a great way if you've got a cooling system where it's far away from the thing that you want to be cold. And so you take a copper pipe that, like you'd use for water, you squish it, and you put a little bit of alcohol in there. And it'll take, and then you close off the ends, right? And what happens if you heat one end, the alcohol will evaporate, and the other the other end of the tube, even if it's far away, will get the same. Well, they'll reach the same temperature very quickly. So that technique's called a heat pipe, and it allows you to, let's say you had a big radiator, but you don't want the noise, or you don't have the a place to put fan or an airflow, the place where you need the cold to be. You can separate those and use the heat pipe, and that way you get the cold air where you want it to be. And we lost Ron again. Darn it. I think he's.
Do you think people today, young people today, would have any interest or ability to learn these skills if they were taught,
Not until they
or
lose what they
motivation?
have. I mean, what was our motivation? My grandmother's motivation is she lived through, tough times. That's why she put vegetables in the root cellar. Um,
Right, right.
but they haven't lived through that other than COVID. They haven't lived through experience that would teach them to have these skills.
I was speaking to some people in their 50s who had a couple of teenage boys who are concerned that they're going to get recruited into one of Orange Puppet's wars, and their solution really was, to flee. And but they didn't really have the first clue in the world about how to go about that, or how to prepare for doing that later, or anything. I don't know. They're being homeschooled, thank God, but I'm knowing their mother. I'm not sure, how effective that's going to be. Um,
Well, I
but
visited a high school today for the first time in a very, very long time. I was at a high school today, and City
yeah,
of Austin High School, and I was so shocked. I can't even I don't even know where to start. Uh, if you ever seen any of those movies where, and the movie's supposed to be like a caricature of a school where kids are, completely out of control, and
uh huh.
they're just sitting around playing card games and talking real loud and everything. I was in that class today,
And it was
and
for real.
it was real. It was
Uh huh.
real, and I was supposed to be tutoring two kids in that class in math, and I'm not even going to start talking about the math, what. But I talked to the principal today too, and he gave me numbers. He said, so out of a school of 1,000 students, 130 of them had been failing the tests since ninth grade. Now they were in 12th grade, and they still have not passing the tests. So they call them retests. And I don't know if I should be repeating this, but it sounds crazy. And the other thing that they told me is that the students had been in an exam all morning. They'd been testing all morning, so they were going easy on them. So that's why they were letting them play cards and stuff in the class, I guess. But when I asked the two kids if that's how the class always was, they said, yeah, that's how it always is.
Uh huh. Oh, brother. I can't say I'm surprised because I taught school back in the 70s, and, you know, it was kind of bad then. Not like what you're describing, but still, it was getting there.
Well, it's definitely not an environment for learning. And the teacher was back at her desk. She wasn't instructing the class. She was just working on her computer at her desk while all the other kids were in groups playing cards.
Uh-huh.
And I
Uh-huh.
wish I could tell you this was an exaggeration. I saw this today.
No, I've seen some video of an assortment of middle school and high school teachers that they're just throwing their hands in the air. They don't have a clue in the world how to reach these kids at all.
Well, I know why they brought. I was there because I'm a
Mhm.
volunteer, so I was there to tutor math.
Uh-huh.
And uh, I asked the principal afterwards. I said, "Look, I'd be glad to come next week, but can you give me a room with just the students that you want to tutor, and we
Yeah.
can have, you know, quiet, and we don't have interruptions, and
Right.
because just the class only 50 minutes long, and 5 minutes of that you're going to spend getting to class anyway. So you got 45 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And what can you do in 45 minutes if everybody's running around screaming, playing cards? There's a TV going, by the way, the whole time, and blaring loud because it has to be loud to come over top of everybody else. There's a TV going, blaring full time. There's kids coming in and out of the class that weren't part of the class. One kid came and sat at our table with us, hoodie drawn down, and he was on his phone the whole time. And he wasn't part of our tutoring group or anything. He just came and sat there. And it's just that was today, and that was the
Hmm.
first time I'd been in a high school in, I don't know, 50 years. But that's what I saw.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Yeah. And and certainly the administration has no interest in changing that state of affairs at all. I'm sure.
Well, I
And
talked to the
nor does
principal. He
anybody
said
else.
he did. He said he was worried because now, first of all, he told me the formula for the test. Right, the test is 52 questions, and they're given, I think, 2 hours or 2.5 hours. I can't remember. 52 questions, and they have to get a score of 32, I believe, to pass. And what they do to teach to the test is they focus on the easiest questions, because the easiest questions and some of the mid-range questions easily add up to 32 questions, and they get those and they pass. And the school, he gave me the statistics for the school. 45% of the school passes the test. 45%
Hmm.
of the students pass the test.
So
So
55% fail it, even with all that propping
correct.
up.
Correct. Now the middle school is different. Middle school is 43%. So the high school is 2 points better than the middle school. I got these numbers fresh today. so so I don't fault people for homeschooling their kids. Not at all. My son homeschools his kids. I think that's great.
Yeah, I just I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, but and some of the kids, I guess, really do want to go there to be taught, but it's hard when you're young and there's all these distractions around you.
Well, sure. I
Even
mean, and
even when you're not young and you're on the internet and there's all those distractions all around you.
well, what are you going to do if everybody's playing Uno? Is Uno, and I think so. I would say maybe 75% of the school is speaking Spanish, and so we had Uno in Spanish, right, most of the time. And I thought my Spanish was bad until I heard the teacher talk. My Spanish is way better than the teacher. So I was concerned. How can the teacher teach if 75% of the students speak Spanish and she doesn't?
Yeah.
So I mean, I can read and write Spanish. It's just, and I can
Uh huh.
understand it. Speaking is a little rough. I mean, I'm in between, about halfway in between tourist and instructional Spanish.
Uh huh.
So,
Uh huh.
uh, and that's not great.
Okay, so a lot of these students are um, have immigrant parents, right?
Oh, I had immigrant parents. I mean, it didn't stop me from learning. You know, that just
Yeah, I had immigrant grandparents. Yeah,
yeah.
and my
But I
parents,
mean,
of course, they excelled a lot by the world standards, despite immigrant parents. Yeah.
um, English wasn't my dad's native language, and my mom was raised in South Texas and Appalachia, but uh, so that's English I learned was my mom because uh, she's not a foreigner. But when I got to school and I spoke like my mom spoke, kids made fun of me. So
Hmm.
that I changed that, to conform.
Right.
You probably had the
But
Hoopy dialect. You know,
no, I didn't say I didn't think I sounded strange because I was used to that. But my for example, I'd say I would use a lot of different words. Like I'd say gum bands instead of rubber bands and glove box and things like that. But uh, I'd pronounce words funny, like the word the capital of the United States is Washington, and
And they were saying Washington.
well,
my dad,
they
my
heard an
dad
R
did
when I
that.
said it. Yeah, I didn't. I probably said it stronger when I was younger, but I didn't hear it.
Uh huh.
Right, that's just the way I learned to speak. But kids were merciless back then. They didn't tolerate much of anything that was different.
I don't
But
think they've
I think
changed, have they?
no. I think, but when we talk about resources, though, I think educating our kids is one of those fundamental things. It's about being fruitful includes having
Yeah.
children and raising them,
Right. Right.
and we're not doing that part well in some ways. The raising part. In education, you asked if kids would even know how to do these things, and
Or have
no,
any
I mean that
interest
one
in it? Yeah.
that they don't have any reason to be interested
Or any
because they don't
attention
need it to
span.
survive. Well, they don't need it to survive. They'd probably improve their attention span if they needed to pump water out of the ground without electricity. There's that video I posted of the Stirling engine is a way to
Uh
pump
huh.
electricity without, I mean, way to pump water, sorry, without
Are you a
electricity.
fan of Sterling engine too? That's actually one of my favorite things. Is Sterling engines.
Oh, it's
Just
beautiful. It's a beautiful, simple. It's the beauty. The beauty is its simplicity,
I'll tell
right?
you
And you can
something.
use.
Here's something crazy about the Sterling engine. Let's say you have an electronic component sitting on, I don't know, a router or something. It makes a lot of heat, and you want to cool it. Well, you put a little teacup Sterling engine on it, and the
Mm-hmm.
heat from the device is powering the cooling process, and it
Yep.
costs absolutely nothing. you know,
Well, it
that, that,
costs nothing. You're compressing. You're compressing the coolant that you need to compress without using a compressor. You can use the Stirling engine to do that, and you're wasting some energy, but who cares? I mean, you're putting the heat elsewhere, and that's all a heat pump does anyway. You're taking the heat from the thing you need to be cool, and you put it someplace else, and you can put a fan on that and get rid of the heat where you need to.
right. I think
And
I am actually. It's aggravating to me that our cars don't have Stirling engines because there was a time in the 90s whenever General Motors and the Army were experimenting with them, and they worked just as well or better than a standard car engine without anywhere near the complexity. You,
they're
you
far
know,
simpler.
right? For some, and they have high torque at low speed. I mean, whenever General Motors put one in a car, they took out a 90 horsepower engine and replaced it with a 75 horsepower Stirling engine. But the Stirling engine was 500 cc's instead of 2.5 liters. I mean,
Hmm.
and you have something that produces no emission because you're not going to find a carburetor that breaks fuel down as well as a burner does. You know, um, General
I'm not
Motors
familiar with
tested it for a
the
year and
whole
said, "Hey, that's
process.
great," and then you never heard anything about it again. Yeah.
The only kind of
Yeah.
Stirling engine
Hey,
I
it's
know
nice, but
about,
we're not going to do anything with it.
huh?
That
Well, I
sounds
don't.
like an ideal source of energy, then, isn't it?
Well, it's energy conversion. I mean, you're converting it from, in this case,
Right,
like in the video, you're converting it from solar to mechanical.
right.
So you convert directly without having the electricity in the middle.
Of course, if
Because
you have a lot of days of cloudy weather, I guess that'll be a problem.
yeah, you have to pump electricity when it's sunny. Yeah, or you have to pump water when it's sunny. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but if you had storage facilities, you know, storage tanks, then
Yeah.
you could you could deal with it unless you're really being bombarded with weather weapons.
Well, that parabolic concentrator that you were showing, Ron, that parabolic concentrator, you could use that even if it's not full sun. You could still get a lot of heat out of that. Because then you can have a bigger that Fresnel thing I showed. The
The,
Fresnel lens isn't that big,
the
but you
one
can
that I
have
had put in that video, that was actually
yeah,
what the guy claimed, is if even on a cloudy day.
yeah, yeah.
What's
You
it
don't
called?
have
A
to have full
parabolic.
sun. Compound parabola.
Okay.
It it's a nice concentrator because it's easier to get a focal point where you need it. It concentrates the sunlight. They have the single parabolic ones too for water heaters, um,
Mm-hmm.
and you aim it at the sky. Depending on your latitude, it changes the way you aim it, and it focuses the light on a pipe that's at the focal point of the parabola, and they're long, right? So you have this long reflector. But reflectors have to be maintained too. They have to stay clean enough to be, reflective and all that. So there's some maintenance involved.
Okay.
When I was 10, me and my neighbor made a big reflector to use as a hot dog cooker. And he was 10 also. So it was just a project that we did. And we laid out we made out of a cardboard
I remember
box.
those.
And, yep. And aluminum foil, right? So cardboard box, aluminum foil, that's all you need.
I don't know if we should reserve this for the next time, but it seems like if we were able to be self sufficient, or any group of people were able to be self sufficient in their food, water, and shelter, and own their own land, then uh, it would be difficult to exploit them or harm them, wouldn't it?
I think that last topic could be all by itself. How do you own your own land?
The last topic is the self defense part, and that seems
Oh
to
yeah.
just baffle the heck out of people. Notwithstanding that we're armed, Uh, and I will just mention one story because it resonates with me, and that is, but there's a lot of people apparently it resonates with, and I'll put it in the comments so everybody can see the link to what's to prevent from any Joe Blow from just walking into your place, changing the locks, and now it's my place, you know. And if you're helpless to defend yourself, I guess you got to walk away and let the burglar, just have everything you built, right?
That
And the
happened to a
Bible
friend of mine
doesn't
in
say
Tampico,
that, but
Mexico.
try calling the cops on that and see what kind of help you get. You're not going to get any.
So that happened to a friend of mine in Tampico, Mexico. He
Really?
had a agave plantation there, 31 cabins that he rented out to duck hunters, a couple of lakes. I was there. I was at his place. He had a bunch of us over, and we had some nice cookouts there, and we had a good time. And a few months later, we heard that the Zetas came by and they gave him an ultimatum, said you could leave, and he held his hand up. You could leave like this vertically, or you could leave the other way, and he held his hand flat. And that's
What year
your
would this
choice.
have been, approximately?
Approximately, let me think, approximately 2017.
Wow. Okay. I can see that people would be real wimps in 2017, but here we are almost 10 years later, and why haven't we learned how to defend ourselves? I mean, that's a kind of a basic thing. Or we don't have the ability to do it. You can't even pay people to help you defend yourself.
No, they had the machine guns, and like you said, the cops weren't going to stop them.
Right, right. So
It sounds like the case of the biggest stick. It sounds
And
to
it
me like
was.
they had the biggest stick.
Yeah. Yeah, no. He had a nice place. I was there. That's why they wanted it, I'm sure.
because you try and get people trained to defend themselves, to go to a firearms instructor, and the firearms instructor can't even instruct anybody unless they get permission from the very people you would be trying to defend yourself against.
That's it.
So, yeah. Uh, yeah, and the same with private security. Private security is also licensed by the very people that are threatening you. So, anyway, well, thank you all for your participation, and let's keep that in mind for next time. We might do a part 3 on self-defense to protect all the ways that we can be fruitful, but it doesn't do us any good if we can't protect ourselves. So we can't or won't. Okay. Well, thank you all. I think we've gone an hour and a half, and I hope anybody ever watching this can benefit.
Close to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Good night, Ryan. Good night. Good night, Catherine.
Good night, everyone. Yep.
Good night.
Good night.